scope of things. I mean, obviously the states are moving forward. Do you believe that Irvine is going to pull that ban off?
I think so. I think that particularly in the area of research and manufacturing, and particularly labs, because Irvine has a great history and area for clean labs, and it just makes sense.
Make some concentrate in Irvine.
Sounds great.
What about those folks who need to pick up their medicine?
I'm not sure, and I think I was explaining before the show, because of restrictions on the ability of council members to talk about issues, I don't know where the rest of my council members sit.
Sure.
My very strong feelings and the advocacy that I will bring is that regulation is a very good thing. Sure. And that it provides people parameters. And if we don't provide regulation, it's done on the black market. It's done in a way that's unsafe. And Irvine is all about public safety.
And it's already happening.
Yeah,
it's already getting in there through the black market delivery and all that stuff. It's already there. Regulate it. Get a hold of it.
I think you're right. What do you think just in this taking it into schools, right? To like the college levels and actually, producing out of college levels, for education. I think it's something that can possibly happen. What do you guys think about that?
An endowed professorship would be a really great thing for Irvine.
Now, who funds that?
Well, that's a good question.
There's money in there for research and education, I believe.
Well, and
there is.
Under the Medical Marijuana Act, there was specifically grants, state grants. And that is why I think you have to have a manufacturing component, why that makes sense, because the people who are going to want to fund the research also have to have a way to monetize that. And that is a model that comes out of other scientific research too. You're doing gene research, you want to be able to hold a patent in it, and so be able to commercialize those rights. So there is a commercial component.
Sure. And then as far as laws go, in the city right now, what does it look like for somebody that is that if they decide to break that law? Do you know any of that? Like what does it look like if someone has a dispensary there? Is the city just going in there shutting it down, or? Well,
my understanding is we haven't had an incident of a dispensary in Irvine that I'm aware of, but we have community-based policing.
City. It's kind of like surprising. I mean, Garden Grove here has tons of them, that I'm pretty aware of. Santa Ana's got legal, illegal.
Not as many illegal, though.
Yeah, and Santa Ana...
it's weeding out, and they've been cleaning house,
they're cleaning house.
Hearing, right?
And Santa Ana is nearby. And I think that's what a lot of cities are going to do, is they're going to start, saying, look, it's legal. Go get it, obtain it legally. We're going to be very harsh on somebody who's trying to skirt the law. And in Irvine, there are so many other places where it's easier to pop up and open. We have a lot of commercial space that's controlled by some major companies like the Irvine Company and Colton, so they know what's going on in their centers. There's very few that are independent.
Right. Or it's like city
so
like
less rogue. Yeah.
It's a highly regulated city.
Right. The other thing, I kind of got discombobulated for a second, but I was thinking, Irvine, if they come in and what are they going to do about the law that just passed of having the everyday guy grow in their backyard? I mean, is that banned?
You can't ban it.
It doesn't matter. You can't ban that.
You can't ban that.
You can
ban that under 64.
Correct. Six plants.
Six plants.
So Irvine.
Well, what if you have 7? What will the Irvine PD do?
That's a good question.
You bust down your door?
Are you going to leave it alone?
I don't think that's her. I don't think
Are
that.
They concentrating
what
on that?
What I've
That's
seen
a
is
problem.
that there hasn't been any concerted effort by the Irvine Police Department to go and make drug busts on people who are using medical marijuana or even minding their own business.
Sure,
It's when it becomes a public safety issue. Now, I can't speak for the Irvine Police Department, but that's just my... I've encountered that during ride-alongs, and I've seen them. It's a community-based policing. So instead of everybody's an outlaw kind of policing. So we want to keep order in the community and help people. So if it's not a problem... they're going to turn their attention to something that's more of a problem, particularly in this limbo state right now of regulation.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Mark?
That sounds good to me. I mean, I'm gonna go hang out in Irvine.
Well, and that's something that I think we do need to address is whether or not we're going to allow vaping and smoking in public or in the parks.
So medicinally,
social clubs.
Well, first of all, they're the state law. I mean, the 64, you can't anyway. So I don't believe you could override the state law and allow it in parks and areas.
No, the opposite would be to be more restrictive.
Right.
What about for the patients?
Well, you can't get much more. You can't get much more restrictive than 64. Period.
Well, no,
but what you can do is you can be responsible or have places like bars, and maybe that's what you were referring to, where
Lounge.
64 does allow for cities to license a cafe where you go in and you smoke, medicate, if it's recreational or not, just like you can with the alcohol bar.
It's called a social club.
Social club type of setting.
I can't say I would see the rest of the council members agreeing with that, and I'm not so sure that Irvine would be the right place for that. But maybe our neighbors.
Right by the airport.
I always hate to throw this in, and I won't lump you in with them, but it's okay to have all those bars and restaurants with tons of alcohol flowing. That's always
and
okay.
the dive bar.
No, that's my part. I mean,
bars.
how many dive bars do you have in Irvine? I mean, not many. And we do very strictly regulate social consumption of alcohol.
I don't know. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Those bartenders at
the Irvine Spectrum, they pour heavy.
And well, who's waiting for you at the off ramp, right?
Right? Before you get on.
Heavily pleased.
That's
I think the and this, you guys, Mark and Craig, it's kind of geared towards you guys. Social clubs. What's that? I mean, what do you guys think? Because I want to open
like a cigar
club.
lounge. What's the difference?
Yeah, it's a cigar
A
lounge.
hookah lounge, right?
Same thing.
Hookah lounge, cigar lounge,
and you can do that
joint
now.
lounge.
Correct.
But now, let me ask you this: when I say I want to open up a social club, do I need to specifically say it's a social club for cannabis?
Yes.
Or I do.
Yes.
I do.
Because it's a commercial.
Yes.
Under 64. It's outlined under 64 that you can do that, but you have to get a city to license it.
So being here in Garden Grove, we go to City of Garden Grove. We say, hey, we want to open a social club. We think it's a great place to have people meet up, join here, and smoke cannabis. And if they allow it, we're in.
Right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
What does that look like?
And then you're set
Everybody's
up
like,
to apply for your
yes,
state
yes.
license. You're all set up.
And then we have the cannabis.
No, there is no state license for a social club. There's no category of license for that.
And that's not a commercialization of it. No.
No, that's just you can't sell it
can't
there
sell
at
it
the
there.
location.
Okay.
It's just it's a social
socially
club.
placed.
And the reason that they put that in 64 is if you're a non-medical patient, you can maybe smoke it in your house under the covers with the lights out. I mean, that's how restrictive 64 is on recreational smoking. So that's why I think they threw that in there. Colorado just passed an amendment because up until just last election, their recreational people, the tourism that people came in and brought in, they had nowhere to smoke. So they just allowed for the social clubs as well in Colorado, and 64 did the same thing.
I think, and I'm very, very sure of this, is that I think LA has just already, since the laws passed, I'm pretty sure they have somebody coming in, getting a social club. I know of a lot of people talking about getting these social clubs, and I know of one trying to be put up in Anaheim right now. I know one it's about to be trying to be put up in Garden Grove. That's right, I'm coming. I was just kidding. I think it's no different than a bar. In fact,
it's safer.
I think it's safer than a bar. However, again, it goes back to that law. Like, how do you know if someone's too intoxicated to drive while, under the influence of cannabis? I do think there's a level that someone can't get. And I just, with all
there's money in 64 to find out.
the difference.
You know what though? The problem is this: if you're like us, we can medicate all day, and I could have so much THC in my system, you would never know how much I had in my system. You would not believe what's probably in my system.
And there's no impairment.
I truly believe that if you're too medicated, you're either going to do one of two things. You're going to say, I'm too medicated, I'm not going to drive, and I've seen this. And
you've done it.
It doesn't impair you because there's scientific studies that say it doesn't impair you the same way as alcohol. Alcohol, at a certain level, and you get too drunk, See, if you're too high, you're going to be, I don't need to drive. I'm going to go eat until I'm okay. If you're drunk,
Give me the keys.
the drunker you get, the better you're going to drive. And I can drive. Give me those keys. I can do that. You don't do that on marijuana. That's my opinion. That's what I've seen over 55 years. Or actually, no, I haven't been smoking.
You've been
since I was born.
smoking since fetus.
Don't date yourself here.
Well, I mean, that's what they want to study.
30 years. And,
Right, and that's why nobody has scientific tests to show this. And
that's because when police
They should
pull
study
you
us.
over, when police pull you over for
sign up to be a medical project.
they don't
happy
pull you
to.
over. If they pull you over for weaving, it's because you're probably drunk. But when they pull you over and someone says, "Oh yeah, I smoked an hour ago," then they bust you for DUI. There's no way they can prove you were impaired. They didn't pull you over for swerving, for going 20 miles
So
an
you can
hour
tell them.
in a 50-mile-an-hour zone.
Is that the new rule? We just tell them, yeah, I smoked an hour ago.
No.
Don't
We know
do that
the
at
rule.
home.
All the
I
Paul
know the
brothers in
rules.
law.
STFU.
not say you
Learn
smoked.
the answer to that
Do
question.
not say that. The answer is shut the what up. So, I think, going into now they have edibles, dabs and dabadoos and all these different things out there. I mean, there's so
Dabadun.
much. Yeah, there's so many different ways to ingest cannabis now that it again, it could hit a different person a different way. For example, this modern martini, I had drank some over the holiday weekend, and you know what? I found it was awesome. But if I had not known the proper dosage to take, it could have put me on a position where I was like, wow, I'm a little too high.
I'm laying on the floor.
To drive. Yeah, back to that. I'm laying on the floor. That's
You
my old
can't
school. You
drive
guys
if
brought
you're
my
laying
old
on the
one up.
floor.
I'm laid out. I'm laid out. But I know exactly what to take. I know what my body will allow me to ingest before I start to feel uncomfortable. And with that being said, it's Cannabis Talk 101. 101.5 KOCI, and we'll be right back.
And we're back on Cannabis Talk 101 KOCI 101.5 FM. We're back with my brother, Blue, Melissa Fox, and the Sober Junkie. And I want to jump right back into the Junkie. Tell us a little something about why you ended up in jail and ultimately in the shoe.
Sober Junkie.
Sober Junkie.
Can't just call him a junkie. He's
I
now
said
the
Sober Junkie.
It's like the Pot Brothers at Law without that's just
At
saying
law,
the Pot Brothers.
right.
Yeah, you can't just say the Pot Brothers. It's the Pot Brothers at Law.
The Sober Junkie. So with being in trouble, and it always stemmed from my addiction, and it's always been, you're going to jail because you had drugs on you. You're going to jail because you're high as a kite, and they catch you and you're high as a kite. And I continued that circle, and once I got locked up, it was like, now that I get out, I've met more folks that do dope. You know what I mean? I've met more people in that circle. So I come out and I continued that door. I just kept getting high, it was repeat, and repeat.
What was your longest stint?
So the last time I did my time, I ended up doing in Corcoran Shoe, I did almost 4 years. And that was just from being in a cell with somebody, the wrong person, and being labeled and branded and tossed away. So and that's what they do. And I'm a dope fiend.
What happens to your addiction when you're locked down and in there and you can't get
That's
it?
what I'm saying. I'm a dope fiend, so I'm in there and I'm a caged animal. And that's how you feel. You're not getting any help. They're not doing anything for you. They're not rehabilitating you. They're sticking you in a box and they're putting you away so they don't have to think or worry about you. And then you get out and it's the same thing over and over again. You know what I mean? They give you $200 at the gate and they tell you, here, go start your life. Come on. Then you got these parole agents that are telling these guys, oh, yeah, the heroin addiction. Well, let's get you in the methadone clinic. We talked about that earlier. You're just flipping
When you came out, you're saying?
Yeah, well, not necessarily right when you get out, but say you get out and you relapse. They're not gonna tell you it's cannabis. I always remember that story I was telling you. I said they need to do something where they show what happens when a guy gets out and gets his card versus gets out, relapses, and goes to methadone.
Sure.
Because I'm telling you, cannabis is what people need. It's what works for me. Yeah, I made the change, and yeah, I make the decision to walk and be the man I am today. But I've from being locked up, from being homeless on the streets, from being a junkie, I've got